Hello everyone, I am Tessellating Hexagons, and all of a sudden, here we are. It's the last main review of the year, although I will be coming back to review all of the revamped songs in one big combined revamp re-review video, which will come, I would say later this month. Germany said they might be revamping their song, but they're going to save that until April, which, why? I want to have my top 43 done by then. But there will be a revamp review, but this is the last main first reaction review, and it is on the subject of the song of Armenia. So, this is yet another case, and this happens every year. This is yet another case of an artist being chosen way in advance, possibly the song as well, but we don't actually get to hear it until right the end of the season. In this case, I think the Armenian artist was chosen, second of all, or something like that, and it's the last song we've got to hear. So, by way of Depi Evratezil, I think it's called, the Armenian selection, we discovered that the representative of Armenia would be Artsvik Harotyunyan, and it was recently revealed that her song would be called Fly With Me. It's completely in English, music by Lilith and Levon Navasardian, and lyrics by Avat Barsegyan and David Seronian. I'm sorry, I am a bit awkward with Armenian names, just because, as ever, it's a language that I'm not used to speaking, apart from when I'm doing hella karaoke to their junior Eurovision song for 2014, but that's a little bit too much information. So, first reactions to this song then. Well, we were promised something different from Armenia this year, and the fan reception that I saw before watching the video indicated that that was precisely what Armenia was setting up to deliver on. Having listened to it for myself, I can confirm that, yep, it is a different. I admit, based on the teaser they revealed prior to actually releasing the song, I got the impression that the whole idea was to start like a ballad, and then just at the moment that the trailer cuts off, it was going to transition into some kind of hyperactive turbo folk craziness. Kind of like 2009 for Armenia, but more intense, high speed, drum and bass, but with that sort of toot instrument. I'll put on screen what it's called because I don't remember offhand, but that. So, I admit I was a touch disappointed that that's not what it ended up being, but that's okay. The fault is entirely mine for having those expectations to begin with, because how was I to know that the song wouldn't do that? How was the song to know that that's what I expected of it? So, what is good about this song then, since some people really are in need of a helping hand to highlight what this song does right from what I've seen? So, yeah, what's good? Well, you know how there are a couple of songs this year that I accused of being every song ever, or at the very least, being too predictable? Well, this is exactly not that. It's the exact opposite end of the scale. It's just unhinged enough that you have no idea where it's going to go next, but it never goes properly off the deep end. It doesn't forsake its message in pursuit of being crazy for crazy's sake. It's just professionally different. That's its whole bit. It's different. People have been praising it for how unique it is compared to some of the other songs this year, and it carries that off really well. And for that matter, judging by the production values of the music video and its camera work and the choreography in there and all of that good stuff, and the Melody Festival and logo inspired outfit by the look of it, and people on Twitter have already pointed that one out, so I'm not exactly the first person to say that, but judging by all of that, it seems like it's very likely that they're going to carry all of that over into the live staging, and it's going to stick out for its presentation. Of that, I have no doubts whatsoever. It's going to be a little bit bananas, but in the perfect kind of way. I should say a little bit apricot, because Armenia? No. It's going to be remarkably different, to put it politely, and I mean that in a good way, because, this is Armenia. When have they ever failed to stand out in one way or another? Also, there are some conventions in the composition that I personally would associate with traditional Armenian music as well. I don't know if they necessarily are connected to Armenian traditional stuff, but it certainly sounds like it to an outsider. Like it's modern music with prevalent traditional influences. And that's enough to keep some people happy, I think, even if they do think that a country has sold its soul to the English language. I swear, I have seen that complaint more than anything else in across all of the music videos for this year. If you're going to complain about the language, at least think of another way of saying it rather than just saying, sold its soul, sold its soul, sold its soul. It stops meaning something after a while. It does still show all the hallmarks of being Armenian, even if it's not in the Armenian language, although I do think that an Armenian language version of the song would sound dope, yo. I think it would sound really nice. My 2000s are showing. So, it does seem like they're going to leave an impression on the audience, one way or another, and no matter what you think of the song, I think they will achieve exactly that. Perhaps they should be careful what they wish for, though, as we'll see in just a moment. I think it will get people talking, sure, but they need to be certain it's for the right reasons. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, okay, before I finish this thought, that is a bit of a misnomer. I was going to change it between this and next year's reviews, but I might as well fix it now. Boop. I actually do like this song, but I still want to point out what some people might not like about it, as I have been doing, as I always do in these reviews. But the fact that it looks like these are what I don't like about the song, that makes it seem like I'm contradicting myself, and that was never the intention. Some people are just trying to say, oh, you can't be trusted because everything you say is a contradiction. I'm just trying to be balanced. I'm just trying to find the best way of wording that. So anyway, hopefully this new set of wording will stop people getting confused from now on. Right, the biggest recurring complaint that I've seen about this one is that it's one long load of filler. Or at least that's how it sounds to some people. I will agree that it sounds like it's building up to something that it never really gets to. Like, it's setting up for some massive drop or something that never really arrives. Or maybe it does, but so subtly that you don't realise that it's not more build-up to said drop that never comes. Perhaps that's just more false expectations off the back of last year's Armenian effort, because that one had like 20 seconds of build-up and then the song just goes mental in the best possible way, so maybe we're just judging it by terms of Love Wave. Another issue is, because of how heavily stylized it is in terms of music and delivery, it can be a touch hard to follow, and thus much harder to commit to memory. Certainly, I had a lot of trouble trying to remember how this song goes when I was writing this review, making the review writing process really difficult, so maybe it's just because it's the last song, maybe it's because of the structure, but it is a touch difficult to follow. Realistically, the three main things that people are likely to remember about this one are the staging, if that goes well, the bass-like recurring riff thing, and her accompanying traditional style vocalization, and maybe a little bit of the melody of the refrain as well. But those fragments alone won't be conducive to remembering enough of the song to decide whether or not to vote for it. And finally, the whole song is supposed to be focusing on this fairy tale about some girl who, something love, flying, or something. As if the structure itself isn't hard enough to follow, the lyrics don't really seem to go anywhere either. The whole idea is that Artsvik is supposed to be telling this fairy tale love story, but after a promising first 20 seconds, I wind up completely lost with this one. Maybe it's just me, but what's the story? What happens? What are we supposed to learn from this? It could completely just be me, but even if it is just me, there is still that avenue of possibility that someone else might wind up as lost as I am, and in my mind that constitutes a potential weakness, but I don't know, if you can understand the story she's telling, then that's good, they've achieved that, but for me, I just wind up a bit lost, to be honest. So how would I score this one then on that patented scale of mine? Personally, an 8. On my scale, I admit that's a bit of a nothing score, like 8 out of 10 on my scale is like a 5 out of 10 on anyone else's. Not to say that it's bad, just that it doesn't really tell you anything about what I think. It doesn't really indicate anything about how I feel about the song, and I know that kind of sucks, but the truth is, I enjoy this song adequately enough. It's just, it loses me in its attempt at storytelling, and it does leave me feeling a little bit disappointed, since it feels like it's building up to some sort of massive, intense drop like the one in Love Wave, but it never really gets there. I like how much passion has gone into the writing and producing and performing of this one. I do like the traditional influences, I like the way it's handled, I like the potential for choreography and the storytelling, the instrumental section towards the end, but it really is missing that final X factor that it needs to fully leave its mark on me, so I do have my concerns. Technical score for this one, I'm going to lean towards a 7. It's different, and it's experimental, and it's performed very, very well, and that does very much deserve its recognition. However, the fact that it's fallen so very flat with the public should be one huge red flag for this song. I mean, yeah, there are some people who like it, and that's completely fair enough, because it is delightfully different. Some people say it's the most unique song of this year. I won't comment on the accuracy of that statement, but it is very unique and original, and people like it for that reason, and that's good. But there are other people who it just doesn't work for, and those people need recognition as well. For me, the narrative strikes me as really confusing and tough to follow within the lyrics. The instrumentation could be viewed as a touch minimalist for the effect it's going for, and it consistently, I've asked a lot of people, and consistently across the board, the feedback that I've got is it gives the impression it's about to go wild any second now, with no real payoff. It's not an awful composition, it's not a bad song, it's just that, you know, maybe perhaps we're all being a little too harsh on it, but it does feel like the intention is a bit more ambitious than the final outcome. Maybe it'd fare a bit better in these ratings if, like I said, if I were to find it a bit more memorable. I admit it fades from my mind worryingly quickly, so make of that what you will. Now, I've said enough comparing this song to Love Wave, so let's bring it in for a final judgment. Having said everything that I've said, it should come as no surprise whatsoever that I'm favouring Yvetta in this battle. I hate how everything I've said in this review makes it sound like I'm some grumpy 50-year-old music teacher who's picking apart Artsvik songs for all it's worth for no reason other than to say, oh ha, I picked it apart, I've got one up on you. That's not my intention, because I really, really do enjoy listening to this song, but I can see where and why it's not quite hitting home with some people, and I totally understand that. Yvetta, on the other hand, delivered her song with passion, sass, confidence, all of that, fully knowing that singing that song made her queen for 3 minutes, and that every beat was an explosion of power that left so many impressions on so many people. Love Wave was a memorable experience. Fly With Me means well, but I think for some people its execution lets it down, which is a shame because there is plenty of potential here. Still, it could bring itself back with the live staging. Armenia never fails to impress in that department, so we shall see. So can we expect to see Armenia in the final? Well, Armenia usually grace the final with their presence, with the very rare exceptions that now and then rear their heads. Normally, this one would definitely be enough to see them through just fine. But I fear that in a year as competitive as this one, where everyone's saying, oh, semi-final 1 is a bloodbath, well, so semi-final 2 in fairness, but with semi-finals as strict as they are this year, it's going to take very, very strong staging with a very strong live delivery to convince people to let this pass through the semi-finals. The juries may appreciate her voice and live composition, and the public may be impressed, or at least they'll be prone to talking about the song when it's all over. But I can potentially see this one missing the mark in the end. I expect it will hang around the middle of the scoreboard, like the middle half. So by that I mean not the top quarter, but also not the bottom quarter, like that middle 50%, which means that the odds of it being on the correct side of 10th place is more or less 50-50 just in the moment. If the right kind of work is put into the song, it'll definitely pay off, and it could easily sail into the final. But without that extra effort, this may end up being little more than wasted potential. But still, I will say, good luck Armenia, you've got plenty of potential. It depends on who you ask as to whether it was worth waiting till the last song to hear this, but, I mean, I'll keep an open mind, it's good from what I've heard. But we'll just have to see how you fare when you get to Kiev, so, good luck.